Yo, Brix5D here, and if you play Raid for a little bit, you quickly realize that the legendary category and the epic category of champions are the most used, while the rare, uncommon, and common categories are totally trashed, well, because they are full of trash champions which are not beneficial or don't have a lot of good abilities, and that's also for good reason. But in this video, I wanted to take my time to go down deep into the lowest level of raid champions and showcase an uncommon champion which is the most used for this category. You already know the name, it's Armiger, but I found out in my champion guide that I'm currently doing for all the champions I use and built in the game, I have kind of skipped out on this one. So today I wanted to go back and shine my spotlight on this champion, even if you know about him already, to tell you where he is in my end game. And even if you're new to the raid, you also find out in this video how you can build him in the early game and use him for the content, which I also used him and benefited my account when he was viable. Alright, so the main thing I built this champion for was his A1. That's it. He only has 2 skills like you have for uncommon champions. They don't have passive or all those special abilities that epics and other legendaries have. So there are just 2 skills right there, A1 and A2, and I built this champion for his A1, and that's the purpose where a lot of people use him for. So you might build this champion wrong if you're focusing on other things beside this A1. Some people try to focus on this A2 for his the amount of damage he brings to a team. Yes, high crit damage, but if you have to put that high crit damage at the expense of accuracy, it's not worth it. So his A1, what does it do? He decreases the turn meter by 30% if this attack is critical. So that's a condition right there. For this attack to decrease the turn meter of enemies by 30%, he has to hit that enemies with a critical hit. That means his crit rate needs to be high on this type of build. So if you do not have high crit rate, 100%, it's ideal, you might not hit this 10 meter decrease a lot of times. There are a lot of champions or a lot of enemies in the raid, especially bosses, where you need to decrease their turn meter for you to be able to beat them easily. Number one enemy is the spider, at least spider 20. When you go higher levels of the spider, it gets a little difficult to keep that turn meter down because it's, you know, it's not at 100% turn meter decrease anymore. So that's the number one place where this skill is also viable. Another place where this skill, the A1, is viable is the Fire Knight boss, where once you break down his shield, if you don't keep his turn meter down, he'll just pull the shield back up. So those 2 areas are the best place where this turn meter decrease is highly appreciated and highly useful. Now another place where in the end game content now where this skill might be useful is in the Scarab boss, the Scarab King. You know, once he takes a turn, he tries to steal all the buffs on your allies, so you must keep his turn meter down for you to keep decreasing his max HP until you finally kill him. So that's the Scarab King. That's the 3 places I can tell you that this champion will be viable for you in the early game all the way to the end game. You will use him for that purpose of keeping the turn meter down. So you already know by this description that this champion is not the best one to use against wave content. You have 4 enemies there, he'll just go there, hit them with the A1. He doesn't really do well against wave. You need AoE damage dealers for wave content. That's what I'm trying to say. So Armiger is coming in there with this A1 decreased turn meter, and if you rely so much on this A1, you might also tell him to not even use this A2 in battle sometimes. Especially, let's say something like the spider, you want him to keep the turn meter down while a cold heart does the big nukes, right? You want him to use this A1, so people might tell him lock out this A2, don't use it at all. Fire Knight, the same thing. You don't want him to use this A2 at all. You want him to focus for the content you built him for. So now that we've talked about how you use this champion a little bit, so you have an idea of why people build him, especially in the early game, let me head over to my champions and show you my Armiger's build. Is one of those champions, after you're using him for that content, you kind of throw him in the vault and forget about him. Some people even build 2 Armigers, so it might be easier to keep the turn meter of the boss down. So the best set for this champion, now that you know the content you're building him for, is any set that will allow him take multiple turns and use that A1 as frequently as possible. And the number one set for such a champion who you want to use a lot of hits, go fast enough, is Relentless set. There is no doubt about that. That Relentless set, even if it's a low chance of, you know, getting that extra turn, when it does happen, it's blissful, it's awesome to watch. So that's the first set that I'll recommend for you to use on your Armiger. But if you're new to raid, a month to even up to a year, you're not winning enough tournaments to get these good Relentless pieces that you need, you're free to use triple speed set on Armiger. Remember, what do you need for him to go fast? So triple speed set is okay, triple perception is okay, a mixture of perception or speed is okay. You're looking for that accuracy. If he does not get enough accuracy, he will not decrease his turn meter. If he does not get enough crit, he will not decrease his turn meter. Those two things are very important. That's why I'm mixing perception with speed set. Speed and perception for early game players. Now, if you're an advanced player, we are beginning to get some good destroy sets. You're beginning to get some good relentless sets. And which other set is good for Armiger? That's about it. Relentless. Not even this other set that allows you to take reflex set is not good for him at all. So that's the best one that a lot of people will use on their Armiger. There is nothing really here besides perception at this bottom parts of the set. Armiger is not a lifesteal champion. Even if you're trying to build a team to beat brutal or hard clan boss, don't build Armiger in lifesteal. It's not the ideal way to go. You have other champions who will benefit more from lifesteal than he does. So the reason why I don't have my end game Armiger in relentless set, even after preaching to you that this is the best set for him, is because I have other champions who need relentless set now more than he did, right? So relentless set is limited in the terms of amount of speed you can get on it, amount of damage, crit rate you can get on it, and all that. So if I put this current relentless set on my Armiger, I tried it. It gave me 154 speed. My current relentless set, all of them I have right here. In order for me to hit 100% crit rate, I wasn't focusing on crit damage, 200 or 250 accuracy. It was telling me my speed will be 150, 160, and that's the wrong speed to put on an Armiger. Even if you're going to be putting relentless set, you're seeing 150 speed, it is just wrong. You want your Armiger to be above 200 speed at least, so you can at least maybe take 2 turns before the enemies can take 1 turn. So that's something to watch out for. Don't just say relentless set, you put a trash set on him, and just as long as it is relentless, then you think that's a good build. No. So that's the reason why I don't have my Armiger in a relentless set, because I've moved my good relentless set to a champion like what's her name now? Let me scroll. Let me show you some of my best champions who are rocking my best relentless set. That's one. Then my sealed drake is no longer in a relentless set, she's in a stun set or something now. But I have other champions who benefit more from relentless sets right now than Armiger. So that's the reason why I'm not putting him in relentless sets. Is this a relentless set? No. Let me look for some other person who is in relentless. So I have a lot of champions who need it and he doesn't need it. So if Armiger you're just starting right now, it's fine to give him the relentless set. But later you might need to steal that relentless set and give to somebody else who deserves it more, who needs it more. So that's why I settled for what this said, destroy set, because that gave me another utility for this champion. So what does destroy set do? It decreases the enemy's max HP by 40% of the damage dealt. So where is this very useful? In one of the 3 places I said Armiger is now useful for. In the end game, that's Doom Tower Scarab King. So that's, he becomes one of the champions that is viable to put a destroy set on, because of the amount of damage that A2 does. At least you can capitalize on that and let Armiger be the champion that decreases the enemy's max HP. So that's a kind of a slow fight. You actually need a damage dealer who does even more than that. Maybe a Cold Heart in destroy set also does the same thing, but I decided to use Armiger for that content for now. So I'll be showing you a battle of that content for how Armiger uses destroy set to take care of that boss for the artist Doom Tower Hard. I'm not even talking about Doom Tower normal. It will also work in Doom Tower normal, but for Doom Tower Hard, for the end game, he works in that type of content. So what's the build looking like? Total stats, you're looking at crit rate, of course, 100%. I even went above to be 107. Speed, like I said, above 200. Speed is fine. If I could go even 240, 250, I would have even appreciated that more. 3k defense. Armiger's damage is based on defense, so you want to stack up that defense. If you can get to 4k, fine, but HP is not that valuable to say you want to get 50k HP. No, rather focus on getting to 4k defense rather than 50k HP. So 30k HP is even fine on this champion. He won't die that much because unless he gets hit really hard. So I said defense will be keeping him alive. Crit damage is kind of low on this build. Yes, I kind of focused a lot more on the speed. Now if I reduce my speed to like 180, my crit damage might go up to 230, 250, and that's really what you need. You need your crit damage to be about 250, except you're just starting and you don't have good crit damage sets for destroy set especially. So, but for accuracy, it was extremely high. Remember, for dungeon 20 content, you need about 220 accuracy or 230, 250. But I pushed up to 346 accuracy only because of Doom Tower hard content, which requires over 300 accuracy to reduce the turn meter of that Scarab King at the highest level, which is I think like floor 90 or so. So in order to decrease his accuracy at those high levels, or block revive, that is the A2 of that Frost Spider, if that's the content you didn't need him for, you need her high amount of accuracy to make that block revive work, else it will be resisted. All right, so that's his total stats. This is just the way I built him back then. I did not revise this build for this video purpose. No, if I revise this build, his crit damage might even be higher because I have new gear by now. But I did not feel like I needed to revamp this build or re-gear him right now. He's not a champion I intend to use in the long run in the end game. That's why I'm not re-gearing him. It's fine just the way he is right now. At least all his gear is no longer 5-star. All his gear is 6-star, except that 2 right here is 5-star. I spoke too soon. Anyways, that's my Armiger's build. That's his total stats for Masteries. Of course, since he's a damage dealer, he will go towards that War Master Mastery to get him that damage, extra damage he needs when he's hitting those bosses. And accuracy 3 right there on the support 3 will help him get a little bit more accuracy. And if you're gonna come down, you need this one at least for the spider to decrease the turn meter a little bit more. That's what is there for in the team, so you need that. Since he might be using basic stat like speed sets and accuracy sets, he will benefit from this Lore of Steel also to give him a little bit of boost. So he's not a champion that is picky or selective in his masteries, but he's a champion that definitely is worth giving masteries to, because he'll be in your account and useful in your account from the beginning of the game all the way to end game. Even if at the end game you're going to be using it for only one content, it's totally fine. All right, let's head into some content and show you Armiger in some damage dungeons. To show you, the first dungeon is the spider, where a lot of people might be beating the dragon easy, beating other content easy, but for the spider, that turn meter decrease is essential. If you come in here without a turn meter decrease, you will find it extremely difficult, because the spider will be eating up our spiderlings and healing back to full health and making the run almost impossible for you. So that's what you need: a champion that can control the wave. I have a Sealed Drake to stun, I have a Drax to maybe provoke, and then Armiger is there to keep the turn meter down while Cold Heart gets a Hatika back again. Remember, she does it once and she has to wait an entire 4 turns because she can do it again. So while she's waiting to nuke again, and Armiger is there to make sure the boss does not get a turn. Alright, I put Apothecary right there in the leader slot for a little bit of increased defense, and then let's see who can survive this battle. I've not even tested the battle, so I just put a beginner friendly team together and see how it goes. So Armiger is going to go in with his A1 hopefully. If the boss turn meter is already down, Armiger will use his A2. That's something I noticed. So stun all around. You see, turn meter decrease, the boss turn meter is done. Totally down. You need a little bit of slow speed. Might call that, okay, the right person is being targeted. Armiger turn meter down. So that's the purpose why it's just in your team. Turn meter down all the way. Did Cold Heart use a Hatika already? I'm not quite sure. Sometimes she doesn't use it on set to tell her. That's it. So now you have to now wait for her to get it back again, because she and Drexter will be the way to do damage. See, he now went in with his A2. Over 200 crit damage right there. His A2 hits hard. Imagine if I had up to 300 crit damage. He might up to do 1,000,000 damage, because that A2 is based on enemies max HP. So the bigger the HP of the boss, the bigger the hit. So he might do a percentage of the boss HP, and that hits about 1,000,000 sometimes, just like the Cold Heart hit also goes about 1,000,000 sometimes. So yes, so he's a champion that is definitely worth building as a damage dealer or as strictly turn meter control. But remember, in the early game it's hard to get accuracy, crit rate, and then crit damage all in one build. So If you can't get it all in one build, focus on crit rate, focus on accuracy, and sacrifice that crit damage, just like I did. I didn't want to struggle to get crit damage and then sacrifice crit rate or accuracy. But hey, if I was building this champion like 200 accuracy, like you should, definitely you have room to go above 200 crit damage, so you can do 500k hits on this Spider Queen. So Armiger, keep that tummy tat down now. Don't let this boss get a turn. Now, if you had a relentless set Armiger going in with his A1 consistently, I don't think this boss turn meter will be this full, because by the time it takes 2 or 3 turns, he'll get some extra turns which will make sure the boss turn meter stays down. Did I get resisted right there? I think I did, but now that we've waited and waited, Cold Heart's Hatika now came around again. So sometimes Armiger might not be able to do it all alone. Sometimes he needs a little bit of help or assistance to keep this turn meter down, especially sometimes when he ignores using this A1 and goes in with this A2. That's the reason why I say sometimes you want to tell him not to use this A2 at all, because that kind of keeps you in a compromising situation where the boss almost gets that turn meter full, because Armiger decided to go with the A2 for damage instead of A1 for turn meter decrease. So in the early game, I think the first place I built this Armiger and used him at level 50 was in the Spirit Potion Keep, right, where that boss just keeps healing. Whenever that boss gets a turn, he just heals that Spirit Keep. So that's the first place I can think of using Armiger, and that's what he does to the boss. Turn meter down, turn meter down, so the boss does not get a chance to heal. I don't want to show you that content. I think that one will be too boring and too simple, but that's for those players who don't have a heal reduction. Most players come in there with a heal reduction. If you have a real heal reduction, you don't need to keep the boss's turn meter down. But if you don't have a heal reduction, you can use that Armiger in there. Even at level 50 or level 40, he can keep the boss's turn meter down for that Spirit Keep, depending on the level you're fighting, of course. And it's of the right affinity for this Spider 20, and it's also the right affinity for that content also. I'll not show a Fire Knight run, but this is what it does for the boss, the same thing. So I'll skip over this content and show you the other endgame content where Armiger can work. Remember, his A2 also works for the dragon, while he will be totally useless for the waves. When it gets to the boss, let him use his A2 and see what happens. For that content to work, you have to build this champion with high crit damage. So remember, that's a different build for Armiger. High crit damage build that allows him to do big nukes, so the bosses on the dragon's HP can just be decimated by Armiger. Armiger is by no means a arena champion. You will never see, I've never seen anybody using Armiger except in the first week when you have no choice but to use him, any champion you have there in 3v3. But he will never be a clan boss champion, he will never be a arena champion, but he does feature quite well in the faction war for that faction of the Secret Order. He does feature. It helps you even all the way to faction war 21. Is still in my team at that faction, even if you have champions like Deacon, Armstrong, and others who are doing work in that faction. Alright, let me head over to Doom Tower content and show you a sample run of this Scarab King and what Armiger can bring to the battle. Do I have a less difficult battle run so we don't have to wait all the way to the end? Let's run this one. I have just one key. So Armiger is right here with a bunch of champions who are going to keep shield on him. But when I showed you my artifacts for the Armiger, if you notice, I have one of a ring that lets him place a shield whenever he hits or hits the enemies, right? So he gets his own shield. That's what I'm trying to say. At least for this battle, he keeps himself shielded enough to not trigger the boss's retaliation. So, but I do have a bunch of champions right here who are supposed to keep turn meter down along with the Armiger, while he is the only one in this team that has that decreased enemy max HP. Yes, he's the only champion I built with decreased enemy max HP. But unfortunately, this is not a Doom Tower normal battle, so this might take a little bit long. But let me just fight my way through this wave content and bring this video to the end at the boss fight. I'll be right back. Alright, we are onto the boss for this end game Armiger build for Doom Tower Hard, and no joke, I didn't just bring this team to you just because of this video. This is the exact team I use for my Doom Tower Hard Scarab King on a normal day, and every day I just put it on auto and walk away, and it's a successful one because the shield is always up and Armiger and Alure is always to keep this turn meter down. I don't care how long this battle take because this Armiger does not have 200 crit damage, doesn't have 300 crit damage. So this takes him a little longer to keep that boss decreased mass HP to that bar you see right there at the top to be depleted. You see that big hit, so that's what is there. Even if he doesn't have crit damage, he's able to do big hits like this, at least for this level of the boss, to decrease the enemy's max HP and destroy this shield, so we can then start doing bigger damage. I put this champion in the leader slot right there because he does have increased all ally defense in all battles, right, or in Doom Tower battles, and he does have increased defense for 3 turns, which also helps Armiger do a little bit of higher crit damage hits to this boss based on his damage is based on defense. So everybody right here is not doing much damage except Armiger. They're just here to support him. Even this champion in the leader slot is not doing much damage. So Armiger breaks the shield of the boss and we can go in there and take him down. So this is the team I actually use, except maybe in the upper levels where I begin to use Urost's Frost Cage as a single solo champion, where maybe in that stage Armiger might get resisted. So I'm not using this champion for his A2 which blocked revive. You might want to use that for his Frost Spider if you're finding it difficult to block that Frost Spider's revive. I use Lydia for that content, but if you're new to raid and you have no choice but to use Armiger for that content, or you don't have good HP burn, Drexter is there to always place HP burn on that champion. So there are different ways to navigate that boss. You can put Drexter, Armiger in that same team and find out which of them might take down the Frost Spider. I don't have it in this rotation to showcase to you right now, but that's one of the ways it can help you in the end game. So Armiger is now in my Dragon team. Armiger is no longer in my Spider 25 or 24 teams. Armiger is not in my Fire Knight 24 or 25 team. Armiger is only in my Faction Wars and Doom Tower hard team right now in the end game, playing 3 years. So he's a champion you use in the early game all the way to the end game. He's not one of those ones where you throw in the vault and never ever use. So he's worth putting to 60, is worth putting those masteries on, and maybe with time you improve his gear. So don't be too hard on yourself. If you can get high crit damage on him, focus on the crit rate, focus on the accuracy, and focus on the speed as a third priority. And then if other things can come along the way at any time, you can then improve on it. So don't try to focus on that A2 crit damage block revive as his priority. Focus on that A1. All right, that's all I have to say about Armiger, your best uncommon champion in Raid Shadow Legends. None are worth building except him. Argue with yourself in the comments. Let me know in the comments also which other champion you want me to do a champion guide on or shine my spotlight on, as I say, and I'll always be willing to take a look at them. This one just popped into my head today and I was like, why haven't I talked about this champion all this while? I've been focusing on epics and trying to do champions that are relatable to the raid community and not just focus on only legendaries. So I'd like to hear your comments. What do you think about Armiger? How did he help your account in the early game? And where do you use him in the end game? How is it built? Are you still in a relentless set, or you've gone to a crazy set like mine? Alright guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to hit like in this video. Remember, I do Raid Shadow Legends content every single day, so I appreciate a subscription from you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later guys.